let's bring in General Jack Keane, who was here this evening to talk about other things going on in the world. But we are focusing on Charles this evening and the amazing gift that he gave really all of us with his writing and his intellect and his sweetness.
Yeah. You know, it's so typical of him that he prepared us for tonight in that eloquent, touching letter where he said goodbye to America and to the world and to everybody that knew him. Really quite remarkable. And it's just so typical of Charles's life. You know, the thing that always struck me about him is, you know, dealing with this tragic illness that he had. I had soldiers reach out to me, 3 of them, over the last 6 years, who had, you know, serious injuries like his. And the first time I approached Charles about it, because they wanted to talk to him, and he said, you know, of course, I'd be more than happy. Here's a way that they can reach me. I said, Charles, I know you probably do a lot of this. He said, General, this goes on every month of my life. And he just dealt with that issue. And he said, I'm going to tell them something that they may not want to hear. And he said, and he doesn't talk about this publicly, of course. And he says, I'm going to tell them the thing that enabled me to go on with my life and have a meaningful life, despite this tragic illness, was 100% acceptance of what happened to me. I said, without that acceptance and knowing that I will never walk again, I'm never going to be the previous Charles Krauthammer. I won't have any of that physically, but I'm not going to throw the rest of my life away mentally and emotionally and spiritually because of it. He said, so that's what I'm going to tell him. And hopefully it'll be of some assistance to him. We had a relationship in and around the green room at Fox, and we never, Martha, had
where some of the best conversations happen around here, by the way.
We never had a trivial conversation. You know, we talked about baseball, and we characterized it as a thinking man's sport. So, and of course, we were a little arrogant about that in terms of people's fascination with these other endeavors in America. But we loved that. But then always it got around to, Charles knew that I had a background different from his. So he was always after some kernel of information. And he kept, you know, what about this? What do you think about this thing? What's this issue here dealing with Iraq or Afghanistan? His mind was always working. And we actually had some fun with it a couple of times because I'm sitting in a green room. I talked to him about it. He goes out on Brett Baer's show, and he uses the information. And he didn't give
you any credit?
And he races back in that speedy wheelchair of his, making sure Keane hasn't gone.
Right.
And he says, okay, General. He says, I was a prostitute again tonight. He says, I took the information. I give absolutely no credit whatsoever. So, but I looked at it, and I was so honored and humbled by Charles Krauthammer using anything that Keane ever had to say. Oh, my. I mean, what a critical thinker, his ability to analyze, a wise man, to be sure. And then, Martha, as you know, so gracious and humble about it. I mean, God gave him a giant of a mind, and he used it. He used it to its fullest to make life better and let people understand complicated, intractable issues. Yeah. I can't imagine all the decision makers in this country that have made better decisions because of Charles Krauthammer. It's absolutely extraordinary. And then he, on top of all of that, he's a regular guy.
Yeah.
He's so approachable.
Yeah.
He's a real guy. And you can have fun with him, enjoy his company. I didn't have the long personal relationship that so many others had here tonight, but I'll tell you what, my relationship with him was meaningful, and I love being around the guy, and I'm going to miss him terribly.
Yeah, he didn't have inconsequential conversations.
No,
he didn't mess around with that.
He drove the conversation.
Absolutely. Let's just take a look. I think we have the moment of silence at Nationals Park this evening in memory of Charles, which. This is an image from that earlier this evening. Obviously, it was a place that he loved so much, and they loved the fact that he loved them, that they were his team, and that Charles Krauthammer loved nothing more than to be in that stadium. I really enjoy the pictures and the videos of Brett Baer and him there, and he went with so many of his friends from Special Report to spend time there throughout the entire season. So that is definitely a heartbreaking and potent moment for all of the people at National Stadium.
Well, they'll celebrate Charles
lovely tribute
for years to come. I mean, baseball is an extension of his life. It It had real meaning to him. He understood the game, the complications. Most people get bored by baseball because it's too slow. But the truth of the matter is, if you're really into the game, you're watching every pitch and you're thinking with what the pitcher's going to do, what the batter's going to do, and he understood the game fully and completely in terms of what was happening out there. Loved the game. He loved the game as much as he loved life.
Thank you very much, General Keane. Good to have you with us tonight.
Good to be here.
Thanks for being here.